The Marlins split a doubleheader in Chicago. Bryan De La Cruz. De La crushes one in the ninth inning, a two-run shot to give the Fish the victory in Game 1. But in Game 2, yeah, I know, it was a really good debut for the Marlins starting pitcher, and he was phenomenal in this game, Roddery Munoz, but not last as the Cubs score 4 runs in the 6th to win Game 2. The Marlins get a split. They have not won back-to-back games all year. Still struggling, but looking better every day. This is your Miami Marlins postcast. Doubleheader against the Cubs, a split in Chicago today, and it starts right now.
You are Locked On Marlins postcast, part of Locked On Sports Miami on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, Fish fans? It's been a tough year. I know the Marlins fall to 5-17, losing the nightcap in Chicago, a split doubleheader today. Game 1, the Marlins were losing 2-1 in the 9th inning, but were able to get a 2-run shot off the bat of Bryan De La Cruz. Been red hot, raised his average 30 points over the last week, and Scott had a little bit of a jam to escape, by the way, in the 9th inning too, with runners on second and third and one away. It was first and second with nobody out. The bunt moved him over, and then he pitched out of the jam with a strikeout, and then he got the hottest hitter in the Cubs lineup, Nico Hoerner, to bounce out the first base to end the game, and the Marlins picked up the win. And then in Game 2, they allow 4 runs in the 6th inning. I'll give you the details throughout the show. My name's Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease. Brand new content for you here on Locked On, the #1 podcast network in America. And when you think about it, right, postcasts, brilliant. Every team, every city, you know you're locked on those teams. You know you're locked on the cities. And now we're rolling out the postcasts, right? Every time your team plays, you get a chance to watch a postcast immediately after the game. At least that's what we plan to do, immediately after every single game or your favorite team. And that's a lot of fun as we continue to grow and evolve here with Locked On. And it's Locked On the Marlins, Locked On the Heat, Locked On. And of course, the Heat open up the playoffs tomorrow. We'll have that show for you right after that game. The game starts at 1 p.m. Eastern tomorrow in Boston, the Heat and the Celtics. And so we'll have that show for you, another Marlins show for you tomorrow. Dolphins football post-game when that starts up again, and the University of Miami Hurricanes, my alma mater, near and dear to my heart. And I'll tell you what, man, I'm looking forward to a big year from the Canes this year. Check out Alex Dono. And Alex and I used to work together at 790 The Ticket. Alex was my studio producer way back in the day. We're talking 16 years ago at 790, and he does a great job covering the Canes and the Marlins. Not so much this year, right? It's been a tough go. Still haven't won back-to-back games, but, you know, they look pretty good lately. I mean, they're playing better. The defense is a little more crisp. They're moving runners over better, but I don't understand the bullpen lately. I mean, not only are they giving up leads, but they're also pitching themselves into jams, and that's not something that, you know, you're going to want to do too much of if you're going to be successful in Major League Baseball. And even in the 9th inning, picking up his third save was Tanner Scott in Game 1, right? But just making it interesting with the first Cubs hitter gets a hit, right? And then all of a sudden you move your runners on first and second, you get a hit and a walk, you move them over. It's second and third with only one away, and he's able to get the job done and get out of the inning and preserve the win. But man, even that was interesting. The hair standing up on your neck, you're sweating bullets as the Marlins continue to struggle, right? But there are some signs of life. There are some signs that the Marlins are starting to play better. And you look at the starting pitching, right? Because that's what it's all about in baseball. In Game 1, I mean, and it's not what it used to be anymore anyway in Major League Baseball. You have relievers starting. You have pitching by committee. You don't have what it used to be where you're just looking for your starter to go out and give you 6 innings. And it's not always that way, right? It's not always that way. But Jesus Lazardo pitched really well in Game 1 for the Marlins, gave up 2 runs, and that's pretty solid in 6 innings, 3 hits, 2 runs. That used to be judged a quality start. Still is really a quality start for your starter. When you go 6 innings, 2 runs or less, that's a quality start. So they got one from Lazardo, and then Faucher and Scott finish it off. 4 scoreless runs out of the bullpen, albeit, and look, 4 strikeouts for Faucher, got the win, right? But when I think about it, 4 scoreless innings for the bullpen in game number 1. not only are you keeping your team in the game so you can have things happen like some late inning heroics like you got from De La Cruz, you're also giving your team a chance to win. And that was a great job there. Meanwhile, in game 2, which they lost 5-3, it was 3-2 game 1, 5-3 in game number 2. And as we continue to grow and build this show, you'll see game in and game out how we present it to you. But it's exciting. Game 2, Cody Bellinger got things going for the Cubs very early with a home run, and then Alexander Canario added one later. But the Marlins were behind in this game, 1-0. Cody Bellinger hit his home run in the first inning, and then in the fourth inning, the Marlins took the lead. And that was a good inning for the Fish offensively because the bats have been really quiet. And you know, when you're struggling, when the pitching's good, the bats are quiet. When the bats come alive, the pitching goes to you know what. And, you know, just one of those things. Bellinger homer to right center off of Roddery Munoz. It was his second hitter faced after Hoerner grounded out to shortstop. Again, Nico Hoerner, the hottest hitting position player in the lineup, the hottest hitting Cub right now. And Bellinger has that power, smashed that homer. Funny Bellinger story. My son used to play with his son all the time in Chandler, Arizona. When I would play men's league softball, A-League softball, Clay Bellinger was on my team. He was the left fielder, hit bombs, used to pitch for the Yankees, many other teams, right? Well, Cody used to go play with all the other kids over there, and my son was one of them. Cody was a little older, so he was kind of like leading the pack there. But my son loves to tell that story. The Marlins in the fourth inning took the lead. De La Cruz struck out swinging, which is one of the few times he hasn't really made good contact lately. And then you had Josh Bell safe at first on a fielding error by the shortstop. Nico Hoerner, an in-between hop, just ate him up. And then Anderson doubles to left and Bell scores, and Chisholm Jr. singles to right, and Anderson scored. So Anderson knocked in Bell, and Chisholm Jr. knocked in Anderson. And so the Marlins had the 2-1 lead. And then the sixth inning came along, and Roddery was pitching great, man. He was pitching really, really well. And then he gave up a home run early in that sixth inning, and they took him out. You know, first hitter you face smashes one out of the yard, and you're going to get taken out of the game. He's making his first big league start, pitched for the Braves last year, now with the Marlins. And, you know, the Cubs in the bottom of the sixth. Canario leads off with the home run, 400-footer. They take him out. Bender comes in, and then Hoerner singles. Bellinger flies to right. Morel singles to left. Hoerner goes to second. Then Bush singles, and Hoerner and Morel both score. Bush goes to second, and then Bush scores when Cooper reached on an infield single to shortstop. So that was all she wrote there. Well, all the Cubs needed. It was 5-3 there. The Marlins didn't threaten again. They went 1-2-3 in the seventh, got a single from Bell in the eighth, and then, Garcia singled in the ninth, but that was about it as they were turned away from there. And, of course, they lost that one 5-3. So 3-2 in the opener, 5-3 in the nightcap. The Marlins losing both games of a doubleheader to the Cubs in Chicago. We're going to step aside, take our first break here on the show. It's your Miami Marlins postcast right here with me, Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease. We'll do it after every game all season long. And I, for one, like you, I'm sure, would love to see them play a little bit better. So we have a lot more fun this summer talking Florida. I said it. I knew I was going to do it. Miami Marlins baseball. And if you see that jersey right over there, right? See that hanging on the wall? I'll tell you about that jersey when we start on the other side. The Marlins split in Chicago. And after the break, we are going to talk more about what this offense needs to do to get something going. De La Cruz is the guy swinging the hot bat right now. Bell's looking like he's coming along too. It's the Miami Marlins postcast here on the Locked On Miami YouTube channel, and of course, wherever you find your podcasts. And you always know that we are very thankful that you've made Locked On Miami, Locked On Marlins postcast your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. And that gives me a chance to tell you about our friends at FanDuel. That's right, proud sponsor of Locked On Sports. FanDuel, it's playoff time in the NBA and NHL. Baseball is in full swing, although the Marlins not really in full swing right now, the way they're playing offense. but FanDuel is your place to bet on every game right now. New customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 bonus bet guaranteed for a new customer, win or lose. From FanDuel, bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all in one app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/locked-on and get locked in, locked on, making your first bet right now. Make it an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Also want to ask you, if you're watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day, have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today. See guys like me, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. I love watching that. It's a lot of fun. With Locked On, right, a little bit smoother with the break today. Yes, sir. We continue with your show tonight. The Miami Marlins locked in postcast with me, Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease. The Marlins split a doubleheader in Chicago. They win game 1, 3-2. Bryan De La Cruz with a 2-run home run in the top of the 9th inning. He has really, going from in the 250s to the 280s over the last week. He's been on fire the last, well over 300 the last week. He's got 5 home runs now on the season, and he won game 1 with Scott holding and saving with the 2-inning save in that one. 4 scoreless innings of relief from the bullpen, and a good job there. And back to Lazardo, the Marlins won game 1, 3-2, and then game 2 they had the lead 2-1 into the 6th when they gave up 4 runs. Ended up losing 5-3. Picked up a little bit of a run later on, got a little bit of something going, but unable to capitalize in the end. And just the bats just, they haven't been doing. And look, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna look through the schedule here and kind of give you an idea of what's been going on with the Miami Marlins. They're right, when the bats come alive, the pitching's not there. When the pitching's there, the bats are not there. And I'm gonna tell you this, right? I'm gonna tell you this right now about your Miami Marlins as they move forward. They have the talent on this team. To really play well. I mean, when you think about the hitters they have in this lineup, I mean, look at Arise, right? Arise is a guy who had an amazing start to the season last year. Luis, the second baseman, is hitting 270 this year, and he's starting to bring it up a little bit, right? He's starting to bring it up a little bit after not such a great start. And of course, last year, he had himself a really big year with a 354 average. In fact, he hit 294 in 2021. Right now, this would be a career low for him, hitting 270. And you have to figure that he will get it going and get that up to over 300. Your leadoff hitter, a guy who's the spark plug for this lineup, someone who needs to get things going. And then you have De La Cruz hitting behind him, who's coming alive. Those two guys at 270 and 275. And when you're looking at Arias right now and what he's done recently, I mean, he was 0 for 4 in game number 2 today. He just hasn't been swinging it so well lately. And, just thinking about the way that he hit last year, you thought he was getting it going for a while there. I mean, against the Giants, he had that 0 for in the series finale after those 2 games before that, where he went 3 for 4 and 2 for 5. And you're thinking he's coming around. And then, it's been quiet since there, as he, in the opener against the Cubs, was 0 for 4 after the 0 for 4 against the Giants in the finale of that series. In the opener of the doubleheader today, mentioned he was 0 for 4 in the second game, and he was 3 for 5 in the opening game today. So you start thinking, hey, this dude's going to get it going, and then he follows it up in the nightcap, goes 0 for 4, and that's going to happen. But De La Cruz, who has been red hot lately as well, he also goes 0 for 4 in the nightcap. So the consistency is just not there, right? You had Bell In the second game, going 2 for 4. In the first game, he was 0 for 4. So you just haven't had a lot of consistency from your lineup. And when you start thinking about a player with a ton of potential, and Tim Anderson's that guy at shortstop from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and the 30-year-old is a guy who he's a good player, man. That dude, if he gets going, he can hit, and he can get things going for you in that lineup. But again, with the payroll they have and what they're expected to do with that, it's not easy for the Marlins, right? And of course, Anderson got booed all weekend in Chicago because he used to play for the White Sox on the north side. The White Sox, of course, on the south side getting booed on the north side. But, he's a guy who, he's got some pop. He's got some pop. He's had a 20-homer season, but these last couple of years haven't been so great for him. And so, you're looking at a guy like Anderson, you're hoping you can get something out of him, and you're not really sure, to be honest. You're not really sure. And, when Chisholm gets things going, he's a really good hitter. Jazz Chisholm, when I look at him, I look at him as a guy, Chisholm Jr., who can really be a factor for the Marlins moving forward. And, he was there in 2020 in the playoffs, and, he was there in 2023 in the playoffs. And this team, of course, a miserable start after a playoff season a year ago. And the Marlins really need to get something going offensively. I mean, when you're talking about Chisholm Jr., he's a guy who can get it done. He can get it done, but he just is not hitting the way that he should be right now. And you look at his career batting, and he's a young dude. You look at what he's got going on right now. I mean, just hitting 231, 250 last year, and that's not going to get it done. So they're just searching for somebody in the middle of that lineup to really step forward and be able to drive in some runs, be able to, make some things happen. You think it can be Bell. I like Sanchez too. I mean, Sanchez is a solid right fielder. He's a solid right fielder, Jesus, and this dude is, I keep waiting for him to break out in 47 at-bats. He doesn't have any extra base hits. He's only got 6 runs driven in, and just not a good start for him either. But those guys are the guys you're going to have to look to maybe get some things done in the middle of that lineup as time goes by for the Marlins. And, right now they're just not getting it done with Bell, Anderson, and Chisholm in the middle of that lineup. Arraez and De La Cruz getting it started at the top. And, Garcia played right field in game 2 and had a couple of hits. And, that's nice when he does that. So I think they'll be all right. I mean, it's just, how many times have you seen it where you get runners on base and you're just not getting the timely hit? You're just not knocking them in. And, that happened a couple times in that second game today where the Marlins just can't get anything going. I mean, it's brutal, right? To watch time in and time out when I think about this team and their offensive capabilities, right? And the way that they play the game. When you come up in the first inning, and I mean, the guy's only throwing like 9 pitches to get out of the inning, right? And you get Arraez, fouls off a couple, then grounds out. That's a 3-pitch out. De La Cruz takes a couple of pitches, ends up popping out, and then, Bell comes up and he strikes out swinging. So you're unable to get anything going in the first inning. But when you see Bellinger comes out in the first and gives the Cubs a 1-0 lead, the Marlins come out in the top of the second. They get a 2-out single from Garcia, but Anderson and Chisholm before that, when Anderson comes up and flies to center, Chisholm grounds out a second. Anyway, they're just 1, 2, 3 in the third. In the top of the fourth, De La Cruz strikes out swinging, and then Bell reaches on an error. So they get a break, and they're able to capitalize when Anderson doubles to left and Chisholm Jr. singles to right. They get a couple of runs in. Good job there. They take the lead. In the fifth, they waste a leadoff single from Rivera. 3 straight outs after that. In the 6th inning, after De La Cruz strikes out swinging again, just a tough game for him in the nightcap. Anderson struck out swinging, and Chisholm Jr. did too, looking. And then so 3 strikeouts in the 6th, sandwiched around Bell's homer. So Bell homers there, and there's 3 strikeouts. Kind of they don't render it meaningless, but at that point in time, it's the Cubs coming up in the bottom of the 6th, and the Marlins had a chance there and just unable to do it in the top of the 6th. And at that point in time, it's 3-1 Marlins, right? And bottom of the 6th, and they're cruising, and Munoz is looking great, gives up the homer to Canario, and then Bush, after the Hoerner single, Bellinger flies out, Morel singles, and it's Bush singles to left, Hoerner and Morel score, and not a great throw to the plate on that one. And then Cooper reaches on an infield single, and Bush scored. That's just a little bit of bad luck there. So that was the end of the scoring, right? Nothing after that from the Marlins. In the top of the 7th, they get a 1-out single from Rivera, but the fielder's choice, and then the strikeout ends that inning. Top of the 8th, they get a 2-out single from Bell, unable to get anything going there. And then in the top of the 9th, Chisholm Jr. grounds out. Garcia with a 1-out single. Rivera flies out. Gordon strikes out swinging. And we'll see what they can do tomorrow in back of Edward Cabrera, who's going to face who's pitching for the Cubs tomorrow. I have it in the description for you guys to see. Just drawing a little bit of a blank there. Let's see. Cubs tomorrow is Sunday, and it's a big game for the Heat against the Celtics tomorrow. It's Kyle Hendricks for the Cubs tomorrow. And so the Marlins and Cubs, 11:20 a.m. That's my time, actually. So that would be, what was I going to say? Oh, I'm looking at the wrong game there. Good job, Jim. It's 2:30 p.m. tomorrow. So 2:20, whatever that is. And it's Cabrera and Kyle Hendricks. And Cabrera, of course, with that, he's good, man. He's got electric stuff. He's in 6 innings. He's given up 5 hits, has 10 strikeouts, an ERA of 1.5, but no record. Hendricks is 0-2 with an ERA over 12. So looking like the Marlins, he hasn't had control this year. He's given up 7 home runs and walked 7. So it looks like the Marlins have an opportunity tomorrow with Cabrera and that electric stuff to close out the series with a win against Kyle Hendricks. And we'll have the postcast for you right after the game on your Miami Marlins postcast show and on your Locked On Miami YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. We're going to wrap it up when we come back on the other side. Actually, I'm not going anywhere. I'm just doing a live read, but the show's broken up into 3 segments. When we come back, we'll look ahead more to tomorrow's matchup. Cabrera and Hendricks, the Marlins and the Cubs to wrap up this 4-gamer. I'm Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease. It's your Miami Marlins postcast on the Locked On Sports Network, your team every day right here, Locked On. And it gives me the chance to tell you about my friends at Prize Picks. That's right. I'm picking 2 talking points for you here. What is Prize Picks? It's America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members. It's the easiest, most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. Spring training is over. Baseball season officially underway. And not only that, it's in full swing. Don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your Prize Picks entries. Whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, first inning runs, take your pick of more or less and add them to your Prize Picks entry today. Get in on the playoff action as well and win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks as you and the world's best players take the game to a new level during basketball's postseason. Playoffs are underway right now. The Nuggets beat the Lakers in Game 1. The Cavaliers, with Donovan Mitchell scoring 30, picked up a win in Game 1. The Knicks beat the Sixers in Game 1. The Heat, of course, play the Celtics tomorrow. Prize Picks has something for everyone. And I'll tell you what, I've had some fun Prize Picks players every single day, just making that game a little bit more interesting, right? In every single sport. I like doing the baseball right there, right away in that first inning. Get a lot of fun there, and download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100 right now with Prize Picks. Prize Picks. Check out Prize Picks right now on Locked On. Getting a little faster with the production here as we move along with your Marlins postcast on your Locked On Miami YouTube, wherever you get your podcast when you listen to them as well. We'll be here after every game all season long. The Marlins, of course, the Dolphins, University of Miami football, and some team that's playing in the NBA playoffs right now. Your Miami Heat. Shout out Mike Biamani, longtime PA announcer of the Miami Heat. I'm Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease. And we are locked in and locked on your Miami Marlins right now. The postcast is underway and having a lot of fun here today, enjoying every single thing that we're doing here for you right now. And right now, we're talking about the Marlins splitting a doubleheader in Chicago. 3-2, they won the opener when Bryan De La Cruz smashed a home run in the top of the ninth inning, a 2-run shot to give the Marlins the lead. And Faucher got the win. But that was awesome to see. De La Cruz, again, he's raised his average 30 points over the last week. He went 0 for 4 with a couple strikeouts in the nightcap. But man, that home run in the ninth inning, and the Cubs were cruising, right? Wisdom tripled to right, Canario scored, and Hoerner scored. That was in the third inning. Other than that, a pretty good start for the Marlins tonight from Lazardo, right? But in the third inning, the Cubs scored 2 times, and then all the way to the fifth inning, De La Cruz hits a sacrifice fly to left. Remember, he homered yesterday too, so he drove in all 3 runs in the Game 1 win today. He sacrificed fly to left. Rivera scores. They left Brujan on third that inning, and that was a big one. But in the ninth inning, De La Cruz would render that meaningless against Alzolay, and he got Alzolayed as De La Cruz homers to left center and scores Arise, who had singled to center. When Arise gets going, man, he just sets that table for those guys behind him, and that's something that you'll see a lot of. I think this year still, getting a rise out of the opponents in the competition and out of the fans, but man, then De La Cruz and then the big boys, if they can get it going in the middle. But that was a nice one from De La Cruz to score Arise. And then in the bottom of the ninth, Scott came on to pitch for the Marlins. Arise played first base. Lopez came in to play second. So Tauchman singles to left for the Cubs. Then Madrigal singles to center. Luckily, no one advances to third. It's first and second. Nobody out. 2 hits to start the inning allowed by Scott, who got the 2-inning save today. But then Amaya sacrifices to the pitcher. Madrigal and Tauchman move up to second and third, right? So then you got second and third with 1 away. Skip Shoemaker does not walk Canario, who strikes out swinging. And then Nico Hoerner, the hottest hitter in the lineup, does not walk him with 2 outs and first base open to set up the force play. He grounds out to first, and the game ends, and the Marlins win it 3-2. Then in the nightcap, the Cubs with Munoz pitching for the Marlins. And that was after Canario knocked Roddery Munoz out of the game. Canario knocks Roddery Munoz out of the game with a home run in the 6th inning to cut that 3-1 lead to 3-2 for the Marlins. Remember, they jumped on top early in game number 2, and they looked good. Well, Bellinger actually put the Cubs up in game number 2 with a home run in the first. The Marlins in the 4th inning scored twice when Anderson doubled in Bell and Chisholm Jr. singled in Anderson, and then Bell homers in the top of the 6th to make it 3-1 Marlins. And then I mentioned Canario homers, knocks Munoz out, and then Bush singles. Hoerner and Morel scored. Remember, Hoerner and Morel had singled, and then Cooper reaches on an infield single. Bush scores. And then in the 9th inning, the Marlins, with Garcia with a 1-out single, just couldn't get anything else going after that. So that's how that all happened. And again, these 2 teams will get it going again tomorrow. Cabrera with electric stuff against Hendricks, who's had 7 home runs allowed and 7 walks this year. In 17 innings, he's given up 31 hits. I mean, Kyle Hendricks has been terrible. And Cabrera for the Marlins, Edward Cabrera from the Dominican Republic with that electric fastball. He's got the 10 strikeouts already. Really excited to see him pitch tomorrow. And the lineup for the Marlins with De La Cruz, maybe Arise gets going with a chance against the guy who's really been struggling in Hendricks to put up some big numbers tomorrow and really enjoy that game. Speaking of enjoying, I've enjoyed the heck out of doing this for you. My name's Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease, and you have been watching the Miami Marlins postcast right here on the Locked On Sports Network. Your team every day. It's free. It's a takeover, baby. Keep coming back here to the YouTube channel, your Locked On Miami YouTube channel, and of course, the audio version wherever you get your podcasts. And we will be back tomorrow after the Heat game against the Celtics, which starts at 1 p.m. Eastern, right after that. And then 2:20, the Marlins start. It's 1 o'clock and then 2:20 tomorrow. The Heat and the Marlins will have both shows for you tomorrow on your Locked On Miami YouTube channel and wherever you get your podcast. Again, 3-2 for the win in game 1, 5-3 they lose. In game number 2, the Marlins split in Chicago as we wrap it up on the Marlins postcast right here on your Locked On Miami YouTube channel. Keeping it locked on the Miami Marlins. Until tomorrow, sports fans, keep your game tight and your mind right. I'm Jim Grease, and I am out.